Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Deep Dive with your boy Rex.
And your boy Prack.
All right, we're about to talk about that new movie, Alien Romulus. I'm actually excited about this one.
I am not.
Well, alrighty then. Well, so this movie just came out about 8 days ago, August 16th, and we just went and saw it about an hour ago. So let's dive in. What do you think, Practical?
I just thought it was not good. I mean, visually, I thought it was masterful and there were a lot of great shots. And I felt kind of sold on it early on, but by the third act, I had just gotten full blown pissed. So
So, what do you think about the actors? How do you think about the ensemble they brought together? I don't know any of them. Maybe you've seen them in other things, but I personally can't think of anything.
I know Isabel Marced, but I don't remember from what. I recognized her name, but other than that, and the obvious throwback to Ian Holm from the original Alien,
Mm-hmm.
no, yeah, I didn't know anybody either. I didn't care one way or the other about them, though. I can say that. I didn't feel personally invested in any of those characters, and I really didn't feel like any of them mattered. It was weird. I mean, maybe other than the android, Andy, and obviously Rain because she's the main character and we spend the most time with her. I didn't think any of the characters were interesting or worth a damn.
You know, I like when horror movies choose unknown actors. Again, they're unknown to me, so I really like that aspect because when you I don't know something about really big stars in horror movies never hit the same for me. Like seeing Andy Dick in a horror movie or seeing Leonardo DiCaprio in like nowadays in like a horror movie, I
Mhm.
just don't think it would sit well.
I mean,
Sometimes it does, like Ethan Hawke in Black Phone, like
mhm.
that's sweet, but it just for me, I don't know, it just doesn't hit the same. I like the unknowns.
I think it depends on the movie because, like, that's just an old horror movie trope anyway to use relatively unknown people because they're cheaper.
Oh, for
And
sure.
most of those guys are like, fuck it. I mean, I can still get the same results with, you know, not main character type AAA actors, like Harrison Ford. You know, I don't know
Mm.
why his name popped into my head immediately, but you know what I mean.
Still,
Like,
no, it's still the
yeah,
point that
yeah.
I was saying. I really like David Johnson who plays Andy. Is that how you say his last name? I'm guessing. And then Kaylee Spaney who plays Rain, the main character. I
Hmm.
liked both of them in the movie.
They're all right. I
I
like, yeah, the guy that played Andy or whatever. He was the best part of the movie. I thought.
the speaking of Kaylee Spaney, she looks to me like Ellie from The Last of Us, kind of. I feel like
Interesting.
she could have been a way better casting choice than Bella Ramsey. Just saying.
Yeah,
Just
I
saying.
wasn't thrilled with that casting either. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that that girl doesn't have her own charms, but it
Hmm.
doesn't feel like Ellie.
Definitely doesn't. Definitely
Yeah.
doesn't. But anyways, on to the director here. It's Fede Alvarez, and he just has a great repertoire of just movies. He hasn't done too many, but like just going over some, the Evil Dead remake in 2013, Don't Breathe. Tell you did the newer Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I didn't know at all till about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I knew it at the time when it came out, and then when you said it, I was like, "Oh yeah, that was him." I liked it. It was pretty good. Unlike Alien Romulus.
Oh man, so everybody knows that you don't like this movie now, but what did you like about this movie?
Well, like I said, a lot of great shots and a lot of great attention to detail. Um, and I think the movie was off to a great start in the beginning. And I think that there were times I was genuinely excited with where the movie was going. And by the middle of the movie, I was thinking pretty positively about it. And then when it got to the point around the time the ship started to announce it was about to hit the rings, which I'm pretty sure, by the way, was in real time because they announced it's 45 minutes from that time that they're going to make contact. And I kept looking at my watch, and I think by the time, if not, it's pretty damn close. By the time they announced that to the end, it was done in real time, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, but I also could be off by a few minutes. But I bet if we were to look that up on IMDb's trivia at some point, it would say something like that. But I could just be delusional.
Well,
But
the movie's not even 2 hours, so and
yeah.
it's 47 minutes when you hear it.
Hmm.
And up to that point, they had been on the ship for a little while.
Hmm.
So I think it's actually probably pretty accurate. I mean, obviously off like a couple minutes because the ending they're off the ship,
Hmm.
but in general, I think you're right. Like it probably kept pretty close to that 47 minutes, which is cool. Uh, I really like this movie. There are obviously parts about it I don't like, but I really like this Alien movie, and I'm also a fan of Prometheus. I'm not as much of a fan of Covenant, but I still liked it. Um, but I think I'm on kind of the same level you are. I thought the visuals were great. I know that the people that worked on the visuals and the VFX in the movie, a lot of them were the original people from the first Alien.
Hmm.
So that was pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. But no, visually, I thought the movie kind of felt and looked like the original Alien. Obviously it looked a lot better, but with their choice of using the same style technology as the first movie and the second movie, and then just kind of the feel on the ship. We had just watched Alien in 4K.
Hmm.
So, coming off that and watching this, that's kind of the feeling I got from it. I liked the kind of atmosphere it had. I also liked the beginning,
Hmm.
kind of a view on the world
Hmm.
being terraformed. Like, people are working there.
Hmm.
Things aren't as amazing as it would as you think it is, living out in space.
I had that uh, similar thought when that was happening in the movie. Like right away when she's talking to the woman at the window and saying like I've done my time, and you can kind of see the shitty grime of the world that they live in.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a visual I never thought I guess I would see in the world of Alien, and I did think it was cool, but I don't know if I needed it.
It may not have been needed, but it kind of, I guess, because when we jump from Alien to Aliens, we know that we've been colonizing worlds and terraforming them.
Yeah.
So this is the first look onto a world that's heavily terraformed enough to be outside, and it's just not. When people think of space travel and living on other planets, it's kind of got a fantasticalness to it. So this
Yeah.
kind of brings my more of a like probably the more reality of what it would be, just shitty,
Yeah.
shitty as fuck.
I mean, it makes sense. It kind of reminds me of John Carpenter's view of the future in Escape from New York. It
Mm-hmm.
looks very similar to that, in like, the world has gone to shit. So, you know, you're seeing a part of that in the Alien universe, which is kind of cool. And like I said, at first I was like, yeah, that's awesome. And the setup is awesome. I think them wanting to escape is cool, but kind of confusing because if they can just up and escape, then why the fuck do they need approval from like I worked all my hours if they can just fucking take off and leave? I realized they were going after the cryopods, so they could get far enough away to where they probably wouldn't even be want to be pursued or but still, if they can just leave that easily, just to conduct a plan that doesn't get you killed seems
Well,
like a
that's why
risky endeavor.
that's what is it? They said no, they said in the movie that the planet that they want to go to is 9 years away.
Right.
So they have to have the cryopods because they can't survive 9 years on that little ship.
No, I know the why, but
But
it's like if you can escape that easily, maybe think of a different plan that doesn't require getting murdered by aliens. And I know that they didn't know that
I was
going
about to
in,
say that's
but
kind of like
it's pretty risky to go to what appears to be either a decommissioned or maybe abandoned space station with no explanation as to why that's the case. And they were clearly wrong when they got there. But I know it had to happen for the sake of the movie happening, so it's like I get it. But in that situation, if that's me, I'm going, I guess, to check it out. But as soon as that droid kind of flips the script and he's like, "I'm not opening the door," I'd be like, "I'm with this guy. Let's get the fuck out
yeah,
of
let's
here."
get the fuck out of here. But on that other thing about just leaving, the place they were going
Mhm.
was also the closest star system to them.
Right.
So even if they could just up and leave, they still somehow have to get a hold of those cryopods. And by the way they made it sound, it's almost near impossible. They have to have heisted a real Wutani ship, not
Right.
something decommissioned. I mean, especially with a crew that small and a pregnant woman,
Yeah.
apparently. So I mean, I agree with you. That derelict ship, I would have got the fuck out of there, dude.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
this is
out.
already weird, but they had their reasons. I'm sure, like they said in the mind, or in the mines, you die, and the main character, Rain's mom and dad had died a year or two before this movie due to the mines. So it's like, you know what? They're probably like, this ain't that bad.
Yeah.
It's either this or a slow, fucked up death in a mine.
No, yeah. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
like I
it's
said, if you're gonna do it, but you know, still seems risky. And the only
it's
because
risky as
they were
fuck.
all fucking down, but she was kind of like Rain was kind of like, I don't know about this, you guys, and they were like, shut up, let's go.
The same thing in Alien. How fucking Sigourney Weaver's character is the only one who's like, we shouldn't do this.
Yeah, no,
We shouldn't
no,
fucking do this. Why'd you do this?
yeah.
All this shit. Like, if everybody would listen to her, the movie wouldn't have even happened,
Yeah,
which would have sucked, but still.
Ripley is the only smart person
Yeah,
like around that
ever.
situation.
Second movie, too.
Yeah,
She tells them all not to do something, and they're like, oh, we'll fucking do it anyways. Oh,
she
fuck
would
you.
know.
Yes. She's been asleep for 57 fucking years. What
I
do you feel about the time placement of the movie?
that's so fucking weird, dude. I was literally gonna be like, I do like the time
Okay,
placement of the
perfect.
movie.
Yes.
Oh shit, that's funny. But yeah, I like shit like that when they will add on to stuff, but they do it kind of in the middle of the timeline or in a weird spot. Um, they did that in like with Obi-Wan and the TV series and
Oh,
shit, and
absolutely,
which
yeah.
I didn't really like it that much, except for the fighting between Anakin and Obi-Wan. But I don't know. I like it though. I think the overall idea of that really works, but I don't know. The movie, I'm gonna put it like this: like it's not all bad. It has a lot of good things going for it. I feel like that third act really dropped the ball, and the only reason I bring that up so soon is because that third act makes me hone back to parts in the beginning where I was excited, and then I'm like, oh, now it doesn't seem like it matters because you robbed me, because the payoff is just spoon fed fucking nostalgia like I was just bitching about in the side dive. I literally was just
No,
talking
yeah,
shit
you
about
were
all that
just
stuff.
talking about. It's funny you did that episode, and now we're seeing one of those.
Yeah. And I didn't expect to see it that much because the ratings for the movie are really good. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying the movie is a piece of shit, but it almost does it in the same respectable but still disappointing way of like Afterlife with the Ghostbusters. Like it's just acceptable enough to be like, I'd own it. I'd accept it into the franchise, but I don't really love it. I don't know how many more times I'd watch it. Maybe one more time, baby, one more time.
I've got nothing for you because I want to know when we watch Alien 3 how many fucking times that'll be for you.
Oh man, I've seen that movie fuck ton in my life because when I was like way young, getting into buying VHSs and shit, I was collecting all of the movies like I do now, but there were less of them that I was into because I hadn't seen a bunch yet.
Mm,
So the
yeah.
Alien franchise early on, I watched one, two, and three all the fucking time. And also at the time, I wasn't a fucking dick, so I didn't even care that Alien 3 was
uh,
bad. I thought it was awesome, which is why when we talk about it, I still like it because I remember the purity of me being like, Alien 3 is pretty good. And then,
it's
like,
pretty good.
grown into my adult years and being like, that movie sucks. And then seeing that it's the consensus that even the director thinks it sucks. And I'm like, teenage Aaron, you don't know shit, you fucker.
The blissfulness of youth, man. Things seem so much better.
Yeah. And those were good times. So that's why I was a little bit pumped for this movie, but not that pumped. Like I said before we did this episode, I was pretty much going into this for Fede Alvarez. You know, he had
Yeah,
done that Evil Dead, which I really like. I just love
love
Evil
that one.
Dead. So
Love it.
his take on it, the extra gore, which I thought, by the way, as a nice segue, I would mention that while the Alien franchise is not known for its gore, I think it would have been a nice twist for this one to do it because then we could see the xenomorphs being really brutal. Because the shit they do is brutal anyway, so it would have been nice to go over the top a little. Not even a lot, but a little, because I felt like this movie was holding back. Like, I'm not saying it was super tame, but I felt like every time it was about to go full throttle, it pulled itself back. And
Interesting.
yeah,
Because, like you said, the alien movies just aren't known for their gore. Like,
no,
I think the first Alien movie, how much blood do you really see outside of the chest burst? And then when what's his name gets pulled up into the chains in the shuttle bay. Like, there's just not a lot in that. You move on to Alien 2, Aliens, and same thing.
Aliens is kind of bloody. There's way more like,
I mean, it's like, to be fair, I mean, a lot of the people dying, a lot of the things dying in that movie are aliens, and they don't bleed blood, you know.
yeah.
But I mean, even Alien 3, there wasn't a ton.
No, I mean, none of them really, but it's 2024. The stakes need to be raised. And I think if we're going to do these movies in the franchise, I get trying to stay within the realms of the established lore and maybe not go over the top. But when you put somebody like Fede Alvarez in there, who is just really good at the gore, and then he doesn't deliver on that aspect, it's like, motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, he might have held it back for sure in this, but I don't think this movie needed the gore. It had some good spots in it. The giving the birth, the chest burst, the guy getting melted. Bjorn, I think is his name, getting melted by the acid from the blood when he jams that fucking electric rod into it, which pretty fucking sweet.
So glad when that happened to that guy.
Oh, dude, for sure, man.
Fucking
I
that
was
guy.
like, dude, I wish Andy was here to see this.
Right? He would have
uh,
fucking enjoyed himself. That guy was a douche, dude.
dude, he
Like,
was
and those that's a horror movie trope. There's always at
the
least
douche,
one
the
complete
alpha male.
bro ass, bull ass,
Homeboy, yeah.
douche, alpha fuck face. But yeah, that's what
Nope.
that guy was. Alpha fuck face.
Yeah, you got.
Oh, they are here tonight. Oh,
Oh,
fuck. Oh, shit.
guess we're not
A
being
little
that
bit late.
interesting,
My
these
joke must
guys.
not have been that
I
good, but
guess
they were
we're
still
not.
like, I guess we better say
They're
something.
suckers, anyways. I bet they liked Alien 3.
There's this new like hate relationship with you and the audience, the fake but always in attendance audience.
They fucking smell bad. But
I think the movie though does a lot of the right things. Like I said, the setup was cool. The characters were a little bit weird and misfitty, but maybe in a good way, maybe in a bad way. Not in a way that I care, but
Yes.
because like there should have been a couple more characters as fodder for the alien, and I felt like the alien was pretty fucking weak in the movie overall. It was just the same shit we've seen, and I get we're trying to do like a new return to form movie with that kind of close up shot of the alien's face and then the little mouth coming out of the big mouth and
I
then
fucking love those scenes.
they're
I
tight,
love them.
but how many times have we seen them? Like, do something new with it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was on. It's funny I didn't bring it up in the last episode, but we'll talk about it here real quick
Yeah.
because I was on Reddit the other day, and me and this fellow redditor were talking about the new Happy Gilmore and how that
Oh,
movie was going to be, which I obviously don't have high hopes as a man who does not like sequels for the most part. But he was saying he wanted to see a scene where Drew Carey pops in as the new host as The Price is Right and pays homage to the Bob Barker scene. And
oh,
I was like, this is the shit I'm talking about. Like, people are like, I just want to see the same fucking scene again. And he got super defensive. He was like, I just want to see homage to Bob Barker. And I'm like, we already saw it 30 years ago. If you want to fucking see it again, go buy that shit on
go
DVD
watch it.
or Blu ray or watch it on streaming. But don't expect the same tired shit in every movie. Like, I brought up Wayne's World 2 in the side dive, and that movie is not quite like the first movie, but still tries to start what ends up being Mike Myers' biggest weakness is reusing his own jokes.
Mhm.
And he does that shit in Wayne's World 2 a couple times, but the story is different enough to where it's like I can see this being one that people like. But with Dumb and Dumber 2 and fucking, where you're just doing the same shit, I feel like oddly enough, Romulus ends up fitting in with that shit because of the third act with the obvious stupid fucking reference. And you saw me in the theater. That's when
Uh,
everything went south. Get away from her, you bitch. It's like you fuckers. You were doing pretty well, and then you saved all of that shit toward the end, and it pissed me off. Mm,
yeah, I do find it weird that they saved. I mean, they had a lot of throwbacks throughout the whole movie, which we'll come back to here in a minute because I do want to talk about those. But um, they did shove quite a bit into the end,
yeah,
and which was an odd choice to do.
it made it cheesy.
It
They
did.
they were laying it out well in the beginning,
They were,
you know.
and I agree with you, kind of not wanting to see the same scene. So that's kind of in the same aspect of not liking it. I do because in Romulus, I feel like they did a good job of showing us kind of the same scenes in a new aspect, like with her to her side and the alien right here, like for Alien 3. It's right there and its little
Yeah,
mouth comes out, like sweet with her getting in the suit, but it was all a little different. It
her
wasn't
getting in the
same.
suit was another one, you
Dude,
motherfucker.
I didn't mind that one.
Oh, god damn it.
Obviously, look, it's got nothing on the Alien original one. Like, just Sigourney Weaver and her little panties getting in that suit. It can't be beat. But the reason she got in her suit, being in that suit, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was a cool throwback, but it changed it. It wasn't so on point. And if you weren't a real Alien fan, you would not catch that at all because of how different it is.
I mean, for me, it's not about how good the originals are. That's not why I'm mad. I just want them, if they're going to make sequels, to try new badass things that are so memorable that we'll want to copy those things in 30 years. Not copy because of, like I said, how many more times is that going to happen in sequels down the line? Like, it's just cheesy. Like we've already seen it. We don't need to see it again. If we do, we can just watch that classic. So if we're gonna get sequels, Freddy versus Jason is a great example. That movie gets hella shit
I
on.
like that movie a
I
lot.
love that movie.
I've
And it's
always
not a
liked that
good
movie.
movie. It's not like I talked about. It's not like a fucking Scorsese movie. You're not
No,
like,
it's a horror. It's on
such
a
fucking
horror
kiss,
movie scale.
Yeah, like fucking, it's not Scorsese level production, but it's good because it's fresh and it's new, and it kind of like takes lore from both and marries them in a way where you're believing that shit play out. And it's fresh though. They don't really rely on past tropes other than maybe a line or two from Freddy or something, but there's no duplicate scenes. It doesn't
No,
try to
you're right.
it's just more interesting. And I think that's why like Aliens works as a sequel to Alien, because what would have stopped Aliens or Alien 2 at the time before that came out from being as disrespected and hated on as Alien 3 or Resurrection. The
Hmm.
fact that they changed it up, they changed the formula up, where you're watching Alien and you feel like you're on that ship with Ripley because there's only her left after a point and you're running around the ship trying to find your way out. The tension is there. And then here's Aliens 2 and it's a fucking straight up like action film with almost none of the same horror
Oh,
aspects.
absolutely. It's
And
fucking perfect.
it's badass,
It's so
like,
badass.
yeah.
But here's a question. Do you think it would be as well receptive today if Aliens would have came out 5, 10 years ago and we got Aliens right now? Because people have problems with movies going from horror to action to this and that, and the internet these days has ruined a lot of things. But do you think it would still land the same today if someone did a drastic change in something like this that's so loved?
I mean, I think the overall state of cinema is just in a different place. So I don't think they would even approach it the same way. Filmmaking to
Yeah.
me has gotten like progressively worse and more lazy with the progression of computers and practical effects and building the sets and all
Yeah.
that stuff created an authenticity that I don't think computers can replicate, as impressive as the computers are.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes CGI is fucking badass. Like when Marvel finally got Hulk right, I was excited. I was like, he looks pretty good. You could
Yep.
still tell it was computer generated and shit, but it wasn't as bad as past attempts,
Oh, it looked
and it
great.
looked great.
Yeah.
Like for the most part, and they continued to get better with it up until Endgame when or maybe Infinity or wherever the fuck he
Well,
appeared
I
again.
mean,
But
Rocket
yeah,
in the Guardians looks great from start to finish in
that's
all
true.
three of the movies and his appearances in the Avengers movies.
Yeah,
So, CGI does have, and, computer generated stuff has its merits, but yeah, I think the classic kind of building sets makes a movie just better.
yeah,
And that's one thing I think Romulus especially gets right because they stuck to as much practical sets and practical effects as they could.
yeah.
So, and I think that shows in the movie and why it gives it kind of the same atmosphere to me as the original Aliens or Alien. I apologize.
It definitely does because of cinematography. Like I said, certain shots just scream fucking alien.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I like that too. And that's what I'm talking about when I say it's like visually it's really good. But I think it falls apart, towards the end, like I said. And I don't know if that's going to be a new trend or some shit because I almost felt that way about Abigail, but I still really liked it. It's
Mm.
just it went it's like From Dusk Till Dawn. Like I said, you're watching one movie and then fucking right before, maybe the halfway point, like literally right before it just takes a fucking jump off a cliff and you're like, am I watching the same fucking movie here? And that's how Romulus felt a little bit. I won't say it's quite as extreme as those two examples,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it did feel to me like to jump off the deep end a little there. And I don't know. I mean, I can see people liking it, and it's probably one of the better Alien movies, but I don't know. It left me feeling kind of disappointed by the end. I mean, Yeah.
Look, it. I mean, the third act is rough, but it is not anywhere near as bad as Scream fucking 6, I think it was. Fuck that fucking movie.
I mean,
And the ending when they run at each other with a hug,
oh yeah,
and he's got the
yeah.
guns,
Hmm.
but he's
Terrible.
and they just hit for no reason. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. It's, I'm scarred by that movie. Honestly, I think I'm scarred by the fucking audacity that somebody watched that on the cutting room floor and was like, "We got it, nailed it, pop the champagne bottles, boys. We finished this movie. It's a fucking masterpiece."
Well, that's my beef with those types of movies too. Like, I love the Scream franchise, but
Yeah, no, it's great.
that scene in that movie in general, they do a bunch of wild shit, and the one before it, where it starts to be like, I'm gonna question Ghostface here. Like, in the previous one, supposed to believe that the girl friend of what's his name? Of course, I can't fucking remember his name. Uh, the Quaid son, the character he plays, that guy is not Ghostfaced in the hospital because he's with the two girls, Jenna Ortega and
Melissa Barrera.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's with them. So we're supposed to believe that she takes the two hunting knives as short as she is and kills Dewey like that with the two knives all the way up.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's like the first time it does it. And in the second movie, all kinds of wild shit are happening when
Yeah.
Ghostface is chasing Courtney Cox.
In 6, when the it's supposed to be that little redheaded bitch,
Hmm.
and she takes down that big black dude and throws him.
Yeah,
She throws him.
that
That was
dude would have
sick
whooped
though.
her
But
ass for
that's sick
sure.
though.
But
That's awesome.
I mean,
She
it's
knows
cool
karate.
visually again, but it's like you're starting to create. Ghostface is just a regular guy. He can't do that shit. That's the whole point. They're supposed to be like the everyday, you, oh my god, it was that guy type killer, you know?
No, yeah.
And for me to start believing he's like supernatural, like what is he, fucking Michael Myers now?
No.
Like, I don't know. I mean, they've probably all got some of that embedded in them here and there from the beginning, but it's just cooler when you stick with your own theme, the everyman killer, you know? And I think, Alien, in a way, that's a good example that Alien doesn't do that. Romulus, it almost does it, and then it robs you of it at the end. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
See, the bringing up the third act and how much you hate it. We talked a little bit about it, but I really like the fact that they almost all the alien movies, including the Prometheus ones and stuff, have a scene that you think the movie's done, they're about to be done, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, something's happening, or the movie ends and something's happening, like there's an alien still there.
yeah.
It's become just a thing for the Aliens franchise. Like, the movie's not over yet. There's still this last bit, and I fucking love it.
See, for me, that's just that's a straight up what?
No,
Because
dude, it's great.
like it's cool the first time. That's what makes it so tight in the first one. You know, you're along with Ripley when shit's getting crazy, and you think she's finally safe, and then boom, he fucking the way he crawls out. It's scary. It's menacing. But then you do it again and again and again, and it cheapens it every time you do it. And it's like, how many times do you have to do it for the line to stop of it being homage and just straight up like scheduled alien fucking survival moment. You think you're scot free, but you're not, bitch. You're fucked.
I like it. I mean, it's one of those tropes, just like every horror kind of franchise has. And I just kind of like it. Like when the movie was ending and she put that bitch into cryo freeze, I was like, oh man, this is the ending. And then the movie's going to end and it's going to go to a scene of like something bursting out of it. And then the movie ends.
Yeah.
But then it moved on to this whole nother thing, which again we'll come back around to. But I like that about it. And it's just cool, campy, and just yeah, it's expected, but I mean, it's just as expected as when a girl's running from Jason in the forest and she looks, he's 30 trees behind her, and then 4 seconds later, he's right next to her, just gutting her. It's a trope that you expect. So, same thing. Cue Jason stabbing in three, two, one, and she's done. All right, the next scene. It's just something that happens in these movies, and it kind of adds for me a charm to it, and that's why I like these alien endings because they all do it. Aliens with the queen being attached to the shuttle. Alien 3 actually didn't really have one because Ripley jumped into the lava.
Uh,
So I guess Alien 3 is the exception, but Alien Resurrection did the same thing with the birth of that half human one that she gave real birth to.
it's
That
so
was
fucking
fucking
lame, dude.
which
It's and Romulus does all of that in the
I
span of one
know.
fucking movie. It's
I
ridiculous.
I was just about to say it's weird that they did that at the end, and I didn't expect that. Like I said, I thought something was gonna happen and I was hoping, but I didn't think they were gonna take kind of a Prometheus mix with resurrection ending. Like the lady giving birth to the alien and then it being partially human, which I do want to point out. I mentioned to you earlier, I really fucking like that they made it look like the engineers from the Prometheus and the Covenant movie.
Yeah,
I don't care
absolutely.
for the rest of it. I thought it looked outside of that kind of dumb,
Yeah,
but the face and like just kind of the similarity to it was just a cool to me throwback, but it also makes sense because they show the black goo from Prometheus and Covenant,
right.
and Michael Fassbender's character spends most of his time on that planet in Covenant perfecting the alien and trying to make it more of an evolution of human. So with when I see that happening and she gave birth to that, it kind of in my head kind of was the culmination of his work plus what they did on top now.
Yeah,
Because they mentioned Prometheus, we found the perfect organism, and the Prometheus had found it, or, whatever Ian Holmes' character had referenced from the Prometheus. So to me, it was kind of a cool, I don't know if it was meant to be that way, but the way I saw it in my own head canon was like, it was kind of that culmination of what was he trying to do. So.
I say fuck it. I
Just because I
just
thought that was cool doesn't mean I thought the ending was that great. I think, yeah,
it, it it just it robbed me because again maybe I'm the gullible one. I didn't expect it to do any of that shit, and that's weird because normally I feel like
that
I'm
is
pretty in
weird.
tune with what's going on, but the movie was doing something kind of new. It felt to me by showing like everyday characters, miners or laborers in their shitty environment, like we were talking about,
Yep.
and then being potentially sucked into this situation. I loved the setup because it felt pretty fresh. It wasn't just like, you know, starting off on the space station in the first movie with a bunch of people doing observations and mineral work and whatever it is they're out there doing in the motherfucking cosmos. And then Alien 2 is obviously like almost a direct result of the events of the first movie, but just spins it out of control. But we're still not seeing Everyman. We're seeing Space Marines, you
And
know,
Ripley.
and Ripley. And then the third movie, we're seeing space prisoners and Ripley. And in the fourth movie, we're seeing you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, so this one doesn't have Ripley in it. We're actually seeing a fresh group of characters, which obviously Prometheus and Covenant also had their own characters and shit like that. But there's no Ripley around. So we're seeing a movie that takes place kind of somewhere in the same stratosphere of what she went through, but we're seeing the everyman. So I was pretty stoked on that premise and was hoping, there was going to be all this crazy alien shit where we'd see new kills and like, especially with Fede Alvarez. But instead,
Mm.
I see all that shit before. Like, like I think you can do some pretty crazy shit with the xenomorphs. they're fucking invincible unless you got one of those Marines fucking machine guns, you know, like they're gonna fuck you up. So it would have been cooler to see, like I said, maybe not necessarily gore, but more creative kills. You can say what you will about fucking like Jason and Freddy and shit and their timing. They might be always on time, but they get real fucking creative with them kills, and that's what keeps it
Yep, you're
interesting.
right.
You know, like Jason X when he fucking cryogenically freezes that chick's face and then smashes it on
Oh,
the
such a
counter.
fucking
That's
sweet
so
scene.
dope.
Oh, that's so sick.
Or it's in like I don't remember which one exactly, but he like takes the chick and he like smashes her up against the tree to kill her in the body bag, and then replicates that again times two chicks and Jason
And
X in the
Jason X
beginning.
in the
Yeah.
fucking
So it's like,
simulator,
and
yeah.
then Freddy would do, you know, new shit. Michael is just always stabbing motherfuckers, but they do it with different, you know, builds of tension. And like one of my favorite instances of them doing something a little bit new is in 2018's Halloween, or it might be no, it's Halloween Kills, the sequel, um, where the babysitter is over and she puts the kid to bed, and then he screams a few minutes later and shit, and she comes running up there, and Michael is in the closet, and she's like, he's like, there's a monster in my closet, and she's like, obviously a
Yeah.
fucking dumb
Yeah, I
kid,
remember,
you know,
yeah.
yeah, and then she shuts the door and his foot's there and shit. That is what I'm talking about. That's like creating a new element of terror, so to speak,
Mm.
where it like subverts your what you're expecting, because you know Michael's there when the kid screams, but you don't know how they're gonna do it. And I think almost that doorstop is a representation of us as the audience, like, oh, we fucking knew it, but she doesn't know it. And I like that kind of, I don't know, it's a weird dynamic as the viewer when you've seen so many of those movies. And Alien's getting up there. So I felt like this movie should have did a better job of that. And I think I would have loved it more had it done that with less of the nostalgia shit towards the end. Fuck that third act.
See, you know
Fuck
what?
it.
On that same note, I actually really like the use of the face hugger.
Oh yeah,
This
that
is
that
this
was
is
a
the
highlight.
first time we've seen kind of like a fight between them.
Yeah.
And the one time that Bjorn guy was fucking badass is when he's got that stun rod and he's basically fucking knocking
Knocking him
them
out of the
home
park.
runs
Yeah.
just when they come at him. So it was really cool to see that the face huggers are kind of now a menace. Like they already are, but usually it's so quick. Bam, it's right there. They get him. You
Yeah.
see a little bit of a fight in Aliens when they're stuck in that room. Ripley and the little girl, they have a little bit of a fight, but these they're running from like 100 of them or something, and I thought it was just a really cool thing to see. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But on the same note, in the third act, that I fucking did not understand, and I'm still trying to understand it. Where the fuck did all the other aliens come from?
They must have just been growing in those embryos with all the people from the previous crew, and they were hatching at the time that they arrived. Because I mean, that place was probably not abandoned that long. The kid was wrong about it being decommissioned. You know, they just had
Yeah,
discovered that shit like locked above their atmosphere. So, because the aliens grow super fast, like as soon as they're hatched, they can be from the alien lore or the that universe's lore,
hours takes
like
hours.
hours.
Yeah,
Yeah. So those other ones had to have just hatched from those corpses.
but that's something I don't understand because so here's the thing: is they enter the ship. Now I know they're not on the Romulus side when they enter the ship. They're on the other side of the ship. It's Romulus and
I forgot what it was.
whatever. The two
Yeah.
founders of Rome is what they're based off of or whatever. But um so I get they're not on that side of the station, but the aliens are nowhere to be found because here's the thing, you might be right, but those corpses when they're running through that hallway of fucking goop,
Uh-huh.
those corpses look like they've been dead a while.
Yeah.
Quite a while.
Yeah.
And
But they could have been hiding. You know, like
I mean, but alien, they don't hide, they hunt.
I
And
mean,
they would have already been full grown
They hide.
by the time they got on the station, and they weren't frozen. They weren't. I don't know, I was just confused now. Maybe I missed something. We've only seen it once. In a rewatch, I might catch something more. But right now, that part doesn't make sense to me. Why there were so many? And like I said earlier, it's they're not on the Romulus side when they start, but the alien that they hatch out of that Asian girl, I can't remember her name right now. Do you remember her name?
Mm, it's like right on the tip of my
Navarro.
tongue. Navarro.
Navarro. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted, that's the first one we see, but that one was able to go across the ship pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I feel like if that can't really be a great excuse because they turned the whole ship on.
The only other
Yeah.
explanation is Rook. Is that his name?
Yeah,
The
Rook.
He must have had maybe a storage unit down there or some cages, and he let them out when when they woke him back up, because his whole thing the entire time was the preservation of them as the perfect specimen. So it makes sense if he had maybe a unit of them or an army of them.
But he wanted them to escape because them escaping was following his prime directive, which is the good of the company. So he wanted that goo serum they'd made that girl took
No,
to
yeah,
escape. So if he released them,
I
that
don't
would just kind of be
mean
kind of
like his end game, but I mean like maybe he had, because their space station was obviously like running all these tests and doing all this shit.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe he had like a bunch of grown ones that he was doing work on, and when, shit got shut down, they got loose, or he let them loose just, you know, because everything was fucked anyway. I don't know. I don't fucking know. When they get there, there's like no alarms going off really when the
No, it's
power comes back on. So it's kind of weird. We
yeah.
don't
I
really
just
know
didn't
what happened,
understand
but
it. I just because all of a sudden there, and it wasn't just a couple. It was fucking like 10, 15 of them because she killed.
yeah.
Which also, I did not care for that scene of them fucking floating through the fucking blood, the acid blood.
Oh yeah.
I didn't wasn't a fan of that scene.
That
I didn't care. It wasn't like a
that reminded me of some video game shit. Like that is the kind of thing you would see in like Dead
Dead
Space.
Space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and movies kind of do that, which is kind of cool. They like borrow from, other media, and
Uh-huh.
you don't expect to see it, but that's what it felt like. And that's why I like the face hugger scene too, which was why it was subverting my expectations early on. Because like, oh, that face hugger scene was sick,
Yeah.
and I actually didn't mind the acid blood gravity thing, but at that point I'd already checked out. Like I said, I was already like, well, this movie's already done too many things wrong. And you actually just brought up another one with the swarm of 10 to 15 xenomorphs, because all that was there for was to pay homage to aliens, you
Exactly.
know.
Same with the scene when he's teaching her how to use the gun. It's just Hicks teaching Ripley.
Hmm.
So, like I said, they threw a bunch of it at the end. I do know this movie wasn't recorded canonically, so it wasn't, in order or anything. So
Right.
I don't know if it was intentional to put all that at the end or it just kind of came out that way. But either way, could have done a better job at putting it throughout the movie. But up until all that, I really did enjoy the movie, the atmosphere. I love that Fede Alvarez played the Alien Isolation game and brought elements of that into this movie. Because
Yeah.
I also got a lot of that feeling from that game from this movie too.
Yeah.
Just the kind of impending doom feeling and being on a space station like that, which you know is a scary fucking thing to think about, like especially with the xenomorphs bleeding through. Like when Andy says, like, do not use those guns. We're on the bottom floor. That'll eat through. And what happened? What fucking happened?
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Exactly.
Exactly that.
But it's also like foreshadowing. Like,
Yep.
she's gonna need that for later. It's kind of like, I don't know. The one coolback,
Cool
callback
back.
that I liked.
Yeah.
Thank you. See, they like it even when you fuck up. So that's cool.
I think they're doing
But
it condescendingly.
yeah,
Thanks.
they're probably waiting for the fuck up so they can do that shit.
They've been absent this whole time.
But I, I think the one thing that was cool was when she doesn't tell Andy that, they're gonna leave him behind after they're all in cryo sleep and shit, and then he calls back to that later.
Oh, that
You
was a
know, that was
sweet
probably
scene.
one of the best scenes in the movie. Yeah,
Yeah, she's like, how could you do that? He said, what do you mean, leave someone behind?
yeah,
And it was just, she's like, oh shit,
yeah,
gut wrenching. No,
yeah.
that
It
was
was
a
good.
greatly executed just callback.
Yeah.
And again, I agree with you. The first two acts of the movie are the best.
Mm.
The third act is weaker, but I don't have the hate for it you do. I do think that scene, the get away from her, you bitch, was so lamely executed. So goddamn lame. If they would have left that out, it would have been a way better third act.
It wouldn't have spiraled my hatred out of control
Probably,
immediately.
yeah, because
Because, like I said, I was pretty on board until that point. There was a couple things where I was starting to wane off, but when he said that, and then there was almost rapid fire homage or callbacks or nostalgia pulls, which is what I like to call them, in a row. I was like, "You motherfuckers, dude! Like you did this shit to me," and I was hoping for so much more. I was hoping for like Evil Dead in space, and it was almost set up that way because five people were going to an abandoned space station, an abandoned cabin.
yep.
Like I wasn't expecting Evil
Evil
Dead
Dead, yeah,
because
but
it's demons versus aliens. It's not the same, but it was setting itself up to be what I thought was going to be a pretty fucking badass sci-fi horror, which obviously many people will still consider it that because that's what it is. I just, I don't know. I just didn't like it, man. I'd have to give it like middle of the road 5 out of 10.
ooh, dude, that's so bad. I'd give it probably a 7. I liked it. I think I think it's an okay movie. It's a good movie. I liked it a lot. The third act, like I said, does have its problem. It's kind of nostalgic throwbacks are a little much, which I was gonna mention in Resurrection. The way they kill that human hybrid is through a hole in the hole that sucks him out.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, when she looked down and she saw that baby cradle of acid, I went through my head. I was like, I fucking knew that's how this guy was gonna die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He didn't die exactly that way because in Resurrection it was pretty sweet. It sucked him out, sucked his internal organs out first, like out of that little hole, and then just sucked him all the way through. It was pretty sweet.
That's I think that's what it is. Like they think we're gonna be along for this. It was fun because I was constantly thinking back to all of the movies that came before this. So it's kind of like I'm on a fun ride. Like I
Yeah,
that does nothing for me.
it's too much these days. Like I said, especially the superhero franchise. It's basically all it is right now.
Yeah, just be new. Like I said, it's possible. It can be done. It's been done. Like we mentioned two of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking Alien to Aliens, House of a Thousand Corpses to Devil's Rejects. Fucking,
It's interesting.
I mean, there are probably more. I know there are more. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I mean, it works a lot in horror movies because,
They have such a free range.
yeah,
It
exactly.
makes it easier, but I will say this about Romulus. I do think they do play it a little safe, trying to stick so much to the feeling of Alien that, they kind of didn't take any real big risks.
Hmm.
Um, but I like the movie, man. I think I'm excited to see it again. I'm going to go see it again on Sunday. And I'm excited because I'm going to see things that I missed before. And who knows, maybe I'll come out with less of a appeal for it, or maybe I'll like it even more. But I am excited to see it again.
No, for sure. And I mean, like I always say, if you like it, more power to you. I wanted to like it. I was liking it, and then shit just went south. So, I mean, like I said, it's not a terrible movie. I put it right about where I would put Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think that's very comparable because it does almost a lot of the same exact things. And I would give Ghostbusters a little bit of an edge, like maybe a 6 or a 7. No, a 6, definite 6, which is only a little bit better, probably biasedly because I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. But they are in the same ballpark to me, those two movies. And I didn't expect to be saying that right now when we did this episode,
Yeah.
but yeah. I mean, Beverly Hills Cop 4, same. It's like a nice little box where it's like they're not so shitty that I hate them. They're not so badass that I'm like, damn, they might compete with fucking the originals. They're right in the middle. Like, I'll watch them again. I don't know when, but I will.
I mean, I'm okay with that. They don't fall under the terrible fucking sequel, prequel, requels, you know? They fall in that box of like they do enough to stand on their own, but they're still a little too reliant on the past.
Yeah.
And which is fine, but I think a 7 for me on this movie is where I stand. And I really like the time period, especially since if you go any further forward, you're going to be going into aliens territory and stuff like that. So I think they did pick kind of a perfect medium,
Yeah.
and it fit well with the story. I think the space station was a great just place to do it. Like aliens had that whole colony, Alien had the mining ship, Alien 3 was a prison. I mean, Alien Resurrection was a science station too. But
Yeah.
fuck that movie. I fucking don't like that movie. Are you kidding me?
It's a bad movie,
It is.
but
It's the who's the dude with the ridiculous eyebrows they chose as the general?
oh, fuck,
I
dude, I
don't I
don't
don't know
remember.
his name, but Jesus Christ, those eyebrows, dude. I want to just clip them for him, dude. Like he looks just angrier because of those eyebrows.
Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection are on the same playing field as Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Well,
they're
absolutely,
watchable and
absolutely.
you
Yep.
like them, but you don't really want to like them. You're just like, well, they're there and they are part of that franchise. I don't hate them, so I will watch them. But God, they kind of suck.
Oh, dude. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, they know.
They know.
They
Romulus, I think, is a good entry into the Alien franchise. I think it stands on its own for the first 2/3 of the movie.
know.
And I think, like I said, with the face hugger fight and just kind of the more terror they brought, like that scene where they're kind of going through all that, it's gotta be fucking terrifying. Andy just tells you, yeah, if you even think about anything, they're gonna fucking get you. Because he said if you sweat, it'll change your body temperature. If you get goosebumps, it'll change your body temperature. If you get scared, it'll change your body temperature. Like,
Which is stupid because there's no fucking way that either the two of them would have been able to pull that off. He would be able to pull it off because he's a
yeah,
fucking android. But the two of them, just hearing that instruction, are able to completely clear everything from their mind. They're not afraid of nothing, even though they're swarmed by fucking.
I mean,
I don't know.
they probably went in there afraid, terrified, so that probably didn't change much.
It's so funny to nitpick something like that in a movie like this.
For
Like,
sure, but it
uh,
was just I
I,
thought it was still
it's just
cool,
funny though.
and I thought the chase was great. I
No, it is
do.
one of the better scenes. Yeah.
I think it was cool the face hugger thing. It was the first time we've seen that.
Yeah, and that's it's all downhill from there, basically.
Mm.
For the crew, for the viewer,
Dude,
for everybody involved.
I would never, dude. A face hugger. I don't want to get. I don't like raped in my mouth by that thing just going all. And it goes all the way down to your stomach
Oh
too.
no, it's gross.
It's
Yeah,
like,
it's fucking
and you see it
disgusting.
when they pull it out. It's like all slimy. Like it's got its own freaking lube that it just lubricates your mouth for that. Oh man, ugh.
Yeah, I'm
I
good
just
on
can't
that.
even believe that.
It's terrifying. That's one of the things
Dude,
that stands out. Like that
the
and the
taste.
imagery with the mouth from the Alien when it like opens up and
Oh
it's got
yeah.
the saliva dripping and then it fucking just snatches your face off. Like those are iconic, terrifying scenes, and the face hugger is definitely part of that. Like, is definitely
You know, the one thing I will say about Aliens that I don't like, I do like that movie a lot, but I don't like what they did to the alien in that. They made the alien just not so much of a terror. Like the first one alien is just fucking immensely terrifying. But then in Aliens, they just throw them at you like ants,
yeah.
and they're just destroying them, and it kind of just takes away from that. And I think that's also why I really dislike the aliens all of a sudden appearing and her killing all them. It takes the movie kind of out of that atmosphere that they were trying to get to match Alien. Well, and I get they're trying to do their whole homage thing to Aliens with that, but again, I feel that cheapened the atmosphere of the movie, like taking it from that one alien being that terror to now, well, I just killed 15 of them. What have you done?
See, I disagree. I think I really like it because when we see that alien with Ripley, they've never seen anything like that before. But then when Ripley reemerges into the storyline for Aliens, humanity has seen that shit now and they're prepared for them.
Well,
So,
they're not because they send Ripley because they don't know. And none of those people have ever seen anything like that except besides Ripley, obviously, the guy from the company. I can't remember his fucking name.
what,
Ripley,
Paul Reiser?
yeah, Ripley says his name like 100 times in that fucking movie, annoyingly,
She
but I
does.
can't remember his name.
I always remember his name when I don't need to remember his
Yeah.
name, you know.
So,
But
but
I don't mean necessarily the aliens, but like you said, they're terramorphing planets at that point by
mhm.
aliens. So they've got equipment now that they have strapped to them, like the guns, the grenades, the little bit of armor they wear. The Space Marines are going into those situations more prepared based on
Well, yeah,
it
because they're
being in the
like, is this
future a little
another
bit.
bug hunt? So
Yeah,
they've obviously
exactly.
fought something or
Yeah, they've
something,
seen some
but
shit at that point.
I mean,
Or
it still to me just cheapens the alien. I mean, I still love Aliens. I
yeah.
watched that movie and I fucking love it. But just when you take that alien who's just this menacing thing and then just show it that it just takes a lot of numbers to kill you instead of just one, I felt that kind of cheapened it, but
Gotta
it's in the
sell
same
action
hand.
figures.
Yeah. I mean, in the same hand still, I fucking love Aliens.
Yeah,
Fucking love that movie, dude. It's so sick.
they gotta sell them action
They
figures,
do,
dude.
but dude, I mean, it's so sick. Which they need an. I don't know if they don't have an action figure of the engineers. I need one. If they do, I need to check that
From
out.
part two.
From Prometheus,
Oh, I don't. They
the
might.
engineers. Like, I would like one. I think those guys look sick.
NECA has the rights to the alien shit, so they might have.
Eh.
Yeah, because they
So
put all it out.
I
That
wonder if
out.
NECA's gonna do a Romulus line.
They probably will, to be honest with you. I was actually thinking about that while we were watching the movie. I was like, not so much because of the xenomorph, because they've made him a million times,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
bet you they'll make that fucking weird fucking human
Human
xenomorph.
alien
Yeah,
engineer
that shit. Because
engine alien.
that's it just doesn't. I don't know. I don't like the way he looks. He doesn't look menacing. He doesn't look. I mean, obviously, if I fucking saw him in real life, I'd shit my pants. But just in terms of like creating a new iconic look for something, and I think we need to focus more on that because we're carrying on like the legacy of a franchise who's full of all these iconic looking creatures like the face hugger, universally, and xenomorphs, and like you know when you're a kid they also have like the Kenner action figures like I'm mentioning about aliens
Yeah.
for all like there was the bull alien and the warrior alien and they all look slightly different, and I feel like they still look like they're part of that. The human xenomorph hybrid looked so fucking off putting to me. I was like, if he didn't have the tail, you wouldn't really fucking know he was a xenomorph thing. He looked.
The
It was weird. It's fucking weird.
another weird thing, another well weird but awesome to me is I don't know when the last time you saw Prometheus was, but when Dr. Shaw gets that abortion of that alien out of her stomach, it turns into like this big kind of squid looking thing.
Oh yeah,
And
I do
its
remember that.
mouth was exactly the thing that came out was exactly just like the thing that came out of this human hybrid they had in Romulus. Like when he opens his mouth
Uh-huh.
and he's like kind of eating that like that bitch. He's like his mother, basically. He's like
Yeah,
eating her. That's
yeah,
kind of how that creature did it to the engineer when she impregnated it.
yeah.
It was really sick. I thought it was really cool. It was just again that whole thing they did just to me because I really like Prometheus. It kind of did a whole for me a culmination of what they were doing then and how it ended to here.
Right.
And I don't know. I just thought it was awesome. And then knowing that Ridley Scott worked on the script and stuff with Fede Alvarez or just gave him some notes and stuff.
God damn it. I didn't even know that, but
Yeah, he
I
did
saw
that.
his name in the production list.
Yeah,
But
he helped produce it, but he also gave him notes and stuff. But I don't know if he had a lot to do with the third act. I hope not. But I mean, I don't think. I think that new creature looked awesome.
hard
Was it
disagree.
menacing? I don't know. It was better than their attempt in Resurrection. Whatever they did in that Resurrection, that thing looked like a giant fucking turd.
That's how I feel about the one we just saw. Like that little stupid smile that he has. God, it pissed me off. I don't know. Apparently, I'm the minority though. If you look up the overall reviews of the movie, it looks largely positive.
And I
So
think that's probably why, like I said earlier, I've been reading online and it seems like people are now having a kinder eye towards Prometheus. Again, Covenant,
yeah,
I don't particularly like what they did with Prometheus' storyline in Covenant. I think they fucked it up, but I digress on that.
yeah. I mean, it's cool when things that maybe were not received as well get a second glance anytime, and maybe
Mhm.
now people do like it, and that's cool. Like I said, the Alien franchise is really no different than slashers or
Yeah,
any of those other horror things. So I'm always willing to give those types of movies a pass, which makes me probably sound like a dick, but horror movies, I like I said, you have a lot more freedom with them, and you can reuse tropes. I don't particularly like it, but it's forgivable in horror because you're trying new aspects of that horror, and this movie was trying that in a lot of ways. It just,
it just missed that.
yeah,
It just missed it a little bit. I feel it. Like I agree with you on the third act. I just rated a little higher.
yeah,
I just think I just really for me, I it was what I expected for the most part.
yeah, and which is good. I think maybe I went in with too high of expectations. I think that might have been the problem, which I don't know why, because again, I wasn't going in there seeing
I
Alien
know. I
sequel,
think I
so
think that's also your
uh,
problem. You were going in hoping to see Evil Dead Alien.
I mean, yes and no. I just wanted to see because Fede Alvarez has done some pretty interesting shit so far, and I felt like this one wasn't in the same vein as his other attempts. That Texas Chainsaw movie is really different in a lot of ways.
I didn't like it.
I mean, some people didn't. Yeah, probably a lot of people didn't. I liked it because it was different. It was like it wasn't just them getting kidnapped by the family and Leatherface being, in some of the scenes and only when he needs to be the I'm gonna chase you down, motherfucker.
Hmm.
You know, like it built up a certain aspect in the lore, plus, raising the stakes, like I said, making interesting kills when he kills the school bus full of kids and like that was pretty brutal and
Hmm.
unexpected. Just like the ending. The ending to that movie was also pretty great. And that's why Romulus is so disappointing to me because at the end of the day, it was paint by numbers shit by the end. Even down uh, the first one was Get Away from Her You Bitch for me, and the second one where I was like fuck was when she went to put on the spacesuit. I was like, God damn it, dude, just why? You don't have to put the spacesuit on. You don't have to. The movie is creating the reason for it to happen, so you have to do it. But that's from Alien, you know? So it's only to get you to think of Alien. And if the whole movie spends its runtime reminding you of the old ones, why the fuck am I watching it? I can just watch the classics. But that's me, and I don't digress. I do not digress. Fucking 5 out of 10 for me. Solid 5 out of 10.
7, 7, 7.
Huh? You guys heard it. It's 5 out of 10 for me. 7 out of 10 for Rex.
What can I say?
Alien Romulus 2024. Fede Alvarez. If you've seen it, what do you think? How did it rank for you in the Alien saga or franchise or whatever you would like to call it? And which one is your favorite?
Yeah,
Reach out to us on
favorite?
Twitter. Reach out to us on Instagram. Reach out to us on Facebook. Deepdive85 at outlook.com. We're everywhere at this point. If you haven't noticed, I've just been fucking pumping us out like a cheap whore.
We're like roaches. Can't get rid of us.
And you won't.
We're everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, next week we really will be doing David Fincher. We pushed it back a week so we weren't so far away from Romulus's release because we're trying to get better at that, but we work real ass jobs and shit happens. So
start liking and sharing our videos so I don't have to work a bitch ass job. I'm over it. They know.
Hey, see, they're on the same page with you.
They don't even get paid.
Yeah, that's
They don't
true.
even get paid.
But maybe they do because they'll laugh at fucking anything. You know.
I pay them in day old tuna sandwiches. Warm tuna sandwiches.
They are getting the shit end of the stick on that deal for sure.
Hot tuna.
All right, everyone. Well, that's a wrap for episode 7, Alien Romulus. We thank you for tuning in, as always.
So much.
Absolutely.
So much.
It's your boy Prack signing out. We'll catch you for next week's side dive with your boy Rex.
It'll be me this time. Had some issues with my recording. GarageBand for me is a little tough, so figuring that out, but I'll have one out next week, guys, so join us. And this is your boy Rex. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. We'll catch you later.